Hey, what's up, my 143 Speak readers? So, I decided that I wanted to do something a little different with part two to Life Teaches You Lessons blog. I figured that I know you guys read a lot, and you guys get on the site and y'all start reading. So, I figured that what I'll do is I'll give you a little bit of audio slash video so that way you guys can sit back and watch the video or listening to me talk while you're doing whatever it is that you want to do. Before I begin, I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about why I'm doing this blog in particular. Over the last year and a half, I've been putting myself through a lot of stuff as far as adapting to changes and learning things about myself and learning things about the people that I'm around. So what I did was I started to surround myself around people that have a lot more knowledge than I do, that's been through a lot more in life than I've been through. So these conversations that I'm actually giving you guys in this blog, Life Teaches Lessons, are from older people. Part 3 of Lessons Learned will pretty much be my experiences, everything from me. So the first one was a conversation I was having with a friend of mine, Derek Davis, who taught me something very valuable in life. Don't pay attention to what people are doing. Pay attention to why they're doing it. And I found that since I've been following that, I've really made a lot of progress in my life because it taught me to handle situations differently, to look at situations differently, to approach situations differently. And it also made me reflect on me and why I do certain things. I wanted to share that with you guys. Life Teaches Lessons Part 2, which I'm going to talk to you guys about now, is a conversation that I had with a 89-year-old lady. I had the opportunity to work a case. I work with people with developmental disabilities, and I was asked by my supervisor if I would take up this case. In the beginning, she told me, it's kind of a difficult case. It's not the individual, but it's pretty much the mom. She's very demanding when it comes down to services that she wants for her son. So I thought about it. At the time, I was going through a little bit of financial issues, and I said, you know what, who am I to turn down money? So I said to myself, you know what, hey, I'm going to just go ahead and do it. I actually want to show you guys something real fast. Give me 1 second. I want to just try to turn this around so you guys can see this amazing view that I'm looking at right now. I dropped it. See, this is live. Look at that amazing view of the water. See the way the water is just waving and everything? Very nice view. So this is where I'm at right now. I'm actually sitting by the water. Peaceful vibe. Video blogging to you guys and talking to you guys. Anyway, so let's get back to the story. So I decided to take the case. When I got to the door, I realized that I actually knew the individual and knew his mother. I worked in a day hab program and I had interactions with them before. Me and the mother, every time I came to see the individual and to help him do stuff, before I was able to provide services for him, me and the mother would sit in the kitchen and would just talk for hours. We spoke about everything. We spoke about life. She's seen a lot. She was around during the Great Depression. She grew up in the Bronx in the same apartment that I was actually in there with. So she's seen the environment on the Grand Concourse in the Bronx, change from being Italian to now being dominated by the Spanish culture. So she's seen a lot of changes and went through the Great Depression. She was telling me her thoughts on the Great Depression, and we would talk politics. She was actually in favor of Trump's immigration deportation plan. And that's where me and her really didn't see eye to eye a lot. So we would debate back and forth and have these long, drawn-out conversations. But there was one conversation that me and her had in particular, and I just thought that it was an amazing conversation, and it taught me so much. And we wound up speaking for 4 hours, and the conversation was about love. So this conversation actually helped me make a decision that I felt would have been healthier if I would have made years ago for my life. And the conversation went like this. She was telling me that how she met her husband. And her husband had passed away. So she was telling me from the moment that she met her husband. So I'm just going to go back to the beginning of the story. Before she met her husband, she was dating the father of her child, which was also her husband at the time. And they fell in love with each other. They had a pretty decent relationship. And then he wound up getting drafted into the war. While he was at war, he would make sure that he would call her at least twice a week. During the war, he would call twice a week, but one time he just didn't call for like 2 months, so she didn't hear anything from him. She was calling around trying to find out if he was still alive. Everybody was saying that he was fine. They haven't heard, missed. They're trying to locate him. They're trying to get in contact with. They can't get in contact with them and out in the field. Gave all type of explanations. Finally, she gets a call 2 months later, and she sees on the she hears the collect call or whatever the case may be, or whatever they had back then, that it's a phone call from her husband's unit. So the first thing she starts doing is panicking, and she starts thinking that they're calling her to tell her that her husband has passed away. When she presses the dollar, her husband comes on and say, "Hey babe, I got some good news for you." She says, "What?" "I'm coming home." A week later, he winds up coming home. Everything is good. They're kissing, they're hugging. He sees his newborn baby because while he was away at war, she actually had his kid. When he was drafted, she was 4 months pregnant, so he never got a chance to meet his kid. So he comes back from the war about maybe a year and a half later, and his kid is already 1 year old. Close to being 1 year old. So he gets home. Everything for the first few weeks are good. They're acting like a family. They're living with each other. They're loving each other. They're kissing each other, and spending a lot of time with each other. And then all of a sudden, he started having these bad dreams where he would wake up in the middle of the night, crying or yelling. He started becoming very abusive towards her, verbally and physically. And she decided to end the relationship. When she packed her things to leave, he told her, "You don't have to leave. I'll leave." And he packed his stuff up and he left. And she's never heard or seen him again. She was single after that for about 5 years. And this is when she met her husband. And she was just going on telling me about how young people don't really know what true love is. And I was debating back and forth with her because I was telling her, well, I have a blog where I blog about love, but it's not just love, relationship love. It's love, like, in general, like this things that you love for your family members, your friends, things of that nature. And she was like, well, you don't know anything about love, you're young. And I kind of thought about that, but before I got on the defensive, I said, you know what? Well, explain to me a little more. Tell me why it is that you feel that way. And in my head, I'm like, other than you being an old fool and you thinking that way, because we used to have these type of conversations. We used to have rough conversations. And she says, when I was young, that's when I met my first husband. And I thought I loved him, but I didn't love him. I didn't realize I didn't love him until I met my husband that passed away. And I said, well, how can you say that? How do you know you wasn't in love? He said, because it's a totally different feeling. We were young at the time when I met my first husband. He had his way, I had my way. We were just satisfying each other's needs. There was a void that we were filling. When you love somebody, when you fall in love with somebody, there's no void that you guys are filling. Y'all are not with each other to fill a void. Y'all are with each other because you genuinely love each other. Totally different feeling from love. From you being in lust, rather. She went on to tell me how she met her husband. She was at home and her girlfriends called her up and told her, hey, we're going to go out and have a good time. She said, where are we going? To a bar. She said, no, I don't do bars. If y'all want to go to a play, we go to a play. They said, well, we're dragging you to a bar. They wound up dragging to her bar. What she did not know when she went to the bar was that her girlfriends invited some of their boyfriends and their boyfriends invited some of their friends. They come over to the table. She's in shock. She's ready to leave, but she doesn't want to embarrass her friends, so she decides to stay there. One of the guys comes in late, after they've been getting a few drinks in their system, comes in late and sits right next to her. And the first thing he says to her when he sits next to her is, you're going to marry me one day. And she said she looked at him like, man, you better get out of my face. You don't even know me. And he's like, it's okay. I don't have to know you. But I can just tell you this one thing. You're going to marry me one day. So, of course, she played hard to get out of my face. Don't come at me with that Mac Daddy bull crap. You know how they used to talk back in the day. You jive turkey. What's gravy? And, sure enough, 3 years later, they married each other. And on their wedding night, he laid next to her and he said, "You remember when I first met you, what was it that I told you?" And she said, "You told me you was going to marry me." "And what did you tell me?" "I told you to get out of my face." And he said, "Well, if I would have got out of your face, we wouldn't be sitting here right here next to each other right now, in love and married." She said that there was a feeling that took over her the day that he proposed to her, where she knew that genuinely, deep down in his heart, that he loved her. And she knew genuinely, deep down in her heart, that she loved him. They did everything together. They wound up moving to New Jersey to a farm. On the farm, he taught her so much about the country life. He taught her how to milk a cow. He taught her how to get eggs, the difference between rooster eggs and chicken eggs, mating different animals. He taught her so much, and she fell in love with just she fell in love with how much he loved nature and how much he loved raising these animals. He wound up getting diagnosed with some type of stomach disease. And she said one thing about her husband is that he never complains. Never. Never says that he's in pain, nothing. He wound up going to the doctor and they tell him that he has a stomach disease. He gets admitted into the hospital. And she gets quiet during the conversation. And I asked her, do you want to continue speaking about this? If not, it's fine. She said, no, I really want to talk to you about this because there's a point that I want to make. And I said, okay. She tells me that she sits down in the hospital with her husband. He's sick. His condition is deteriorating. He can't talk now. But he points to his stomach and basically means that he's in pain. So she goes and get the doctor and they tell him they can't do anything for him but make him comfortable. He was supposed to pass away one night and she went home. The doctor said she'll call her if, he doesn't make it. He winds up making it through the night. She goes back to the hospital. He's up. He's talking to her that, now he could talk. They're having a good time, sharing, a very good time with her. And she's holding his hand. She loves him. Just like that, next morning, he's back into the same condition that he was. She decides that she wants to go home, cook dinner for her kids, and then she'll come back to the hospital. So she told the doctor, she said, look, if anything happens, please call me. I'm going to go home and cook dinner for my kids, and I'm coming back. Doctor says, okay. Now, back then, they didn't have cell phones. They just had house phones, landlines. And she said that she went home, she took a shower, she cooked dinner for her kids, they ate, put her in the bed, and she was on her way back to to the hospital. When she got to the hospital, she noticed that the door was closed. She opened up the door, turned on the light, and he was there sleeping. So she went over to him, and she didn't want to worry him or anything of that nature. And, she's like starting to look at him, and she realizes he's not breathing. Right when she realized that, the nurse came in and she said, "Oh, we were trying to get in contact with you. He just passed away." Now, she said that she touched him and his body was still warm. That means he must have just passed away when she just got to the hospital. But the reason why I'm telling you this is not to make you feel sad or to make you feel any type of way. I'm telling you this because right then and there, she said, I lost the love of my life. My husband was the love of my life. He refused to let her see him slip away. So he waited for her to leave. And she said that she has not been with another man since he passed away because she knows that that's genuinely her soulmate and that she loves him to death. I started thinking on my ride home that night, and I had a pretty long ride. And I said to myself, I've made a lot of choices, a lot of bad choices, a lot of choices that I can honestly say was type hard for me and confusing. When I look back on it, I was very confused about some of the choices that I made. But I've spent the majority of my life wanting to find somebody that I can genuinely love, that I can be with, and that I can have that bond with. And I said to myself, I've dated a lot of girls and I've fell in love with a lot of girls, but do I really know what love is? Did any of those girls really love me? Well, if you're not in your right state of mind and you're ignorant towards what love is, then how would you know whether or not you're in love or if someone loves you? Love is something that's not taught. It's something that's installed in us naturally. You have love for your parents. You have love for your kid. You have love for your grandparents. You have love for your aunts and uncle. But when you take a stranger, someone that you don't know, and you share your life with them, and you fall in love with them, and they're catering to your needs, and you're catering to their needs, and they're giving you the certainty that this is the relationship that they want to be in, is that love? How can someone say that they love you but continue to hurt you? You have women that love the hell out of their person that they're with, and that person hits them, beats on them, disrespects them, bring them home STDs, but they still love them. You have a relationship where these two couples met each other in junior high school and been together since, took each other's virginity, but then one decides to cheat. How do you cheat on somebody that you love, and then when they find out, you expect them to stay there? Is that love? I remember this young lady that I was dating one time. I had wound up hurting her in a way, and I remember I pulled up to her house because my son at the time knew her, and she had these tears in her eyes, and she was just like, DJ, you're just like messing it up. Like, I don't understand why you can't see how much I love you. Let's just, we could just it could just be us against the world. We could just be in love with each other and just be with each other and just be happy, but you're just like ruining it, everything. And I can see the passion in her eyes because they were tears. And yet it was hard for me to take that in, for me to say, you know what? I need to let everything else go and just give it a chance. Ignorance towards love, not knowing, not believing that you're capable of being loved. I remember I was in a relationship where I really was into someone, and they told me they were into me but chose someone else over me. Can I sit here and blame her? No, can't. One thing I can tell everyone about relationships and about love is this. You have a role. You have a responsibility. You have options. When you decide to let someone into your heart and let them know every piece of what you are about, you're letting go of your emotions, you're trusting, you're loving, you're dedicated, you're a caterer, you're understanding. That's letting go. But when you're being with somebody to fill a void, that's a relationship that's not going to work out. The first phase to falling in love with somebody is falling in love with yourself first. When you love yourself first, you will not allow no one to disrespect you. But when you don't love yourself, they'll disrespect you. When you're scared to be alone, you'll let others come in your life and do whatever they want to do. And you'll stick by them just because you're scared to be alone. That's called you having someone there to fill a void. I was that person. I've been hurt. And I'm pretty sure that I've hurt people before too. I never praise myself as being a person that is just the innocent person in the world. I've cheated. I've been faithful. I've been hurt. I've hurt people. But I've learned slowly, painfully. I learned what it is that I deserve in life. So why am I going off on this rant? Why am I telling you this story? Life teaches lessons. And it depends on the information that you gather from the lesson that life is teaching you and how you're going to interpret it. I can sit here for half an hour, 45 minutes, and I can talk to you and tell you as many stories as I want. I can find different ways to connect with you, any type of way. But guess what? The only thing that matters is how you interpret what I say. You can pride yourself for being something great, or you can pride yourself for being something average. And when you pride yourself for being something average, you're like everyone else. But when you pride yourself as a man, as a woman, as a human being, as being something great, then that's when you don't continue to make the same mistakes. I said it before, love freely. It's 2017. It's so hard to love freely. Why? Because girls are just as bad as men. Men are just as bad as women. We can sit here and point the blame and everything else. But let me tell you guys something right now. Relationships are hard to come by and hard to keep. I've made some difficult decisions the last year and a half. I've been through it all. Car repo, electricity cut off, cell phone cut off, having to move up to peak scale, don't got my apartment. I've made a lot of hard decisions. But trust me, a year and a half ago, before these hard decisions, I was living the way everybody else wanted me to live. I was a yes man to the world. I didn't do what made me feel good inside. I didn't do what made me feel like, you know what, I matter first. And I'm doing that now. So, I want you guys, as 143 followers, please. This blog was created for a reason. It wasn't created for me to get on it every day and look and see how many people are visiting the sites. I felt like I have a story to tell. I have stories to tell that people go through every single day. I'm not the answer, but I can guide you to whatever it is that you're looking for, your answer. But I'm not the answer. I'm doing it because I want you to know that you're human and other people go through the same thing you're going through too. Just figure out what you can take from my blogs. Figure out what you can take from my video blogs. And guess what? Write comments, man. Let other people see your comments and respond to your comments. Don't just get on a blog and just read it. Write how you feel. Tell me if you disagree, you agree. Write how you feel. Listen to what other people are saying. Go back and forth with other people. Debate. This blog, I created it for the person that's ready to jump off of a bridge or a roof. That feels alone. For the person that's given up on love. For the persons whose family don't even care about them or disown them. This is what this blog is about. A community for you to come to and write how you feel and hear what other people have to say. Another note. There's this big thing going around with bullying. People, pay attention to your kids. It's very important for you to pay attention to your kids. I listened to podcasts, and I was listening to a podcast the other day called The Moth, and this lady told a story about how son was being bullied in school, and he went upstairs and he hung himself with a belt. Suicide is not the answer. There is people that are trained to speak to people that are going through stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're having a problem and you're having a stressful life and you're depressed and you're feeling some type of way, You deserve to live a fulfilling, happy life. Get the help. This is 143 Speaks. Donald Jones. Leave the comment. Hope you liked the video. Love all y'all. Peace.